Hello and welcome to this presentation identifying the 5 stages that most people go through in the death, dying, and grieving process. I'm Dr. Anne Marie Evers, and I'll be your guide throughout this presentation. I am an ordained minister and have my doctorate of divinity. As an ordained minister, I have officiated at many funerals and memorial services marking the end-of-life celebrations. I am no stranger to death, dying, and the grieving process. Through the years, I've lost many loved ones to death. Parents, brothers, sisters, husbands, close business partners, friends, and associates. Recently, my husband Reginald died right in the middle of my chemotherapy treatments, which intensified the grief I experienced with the loss. It is my sincere hope that this information helps you. Every one of us has experienced or will experience death and grieving in our life. It is inevitable. It is not what happens to us in our life that counts. It is how we handle it. It is my hope that you will use some of the ideas, suggestions, affirmations, and information to help you on your journey. This presentation is not only based upon personal experience and the experience of others, but also on research that has been done since Dr. Kubler-Ross released her groundbreaking book on death and dying in 1969. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, in her book on death and dying, authored in 1969, identified what have come to be known as 5 stages that her dying patients tended to go through as they had come to terms with the realization that they will soon be dead. Her stages have since been borrowed by the larger grief community as a means of describing the grief process. Dr. Kubler-Ross was clear to highlight that not everyone will experience all of these stages, or if all are experienced, they won't necessarily occur in this particular order. The stages are guidestones that help us locate ourselves in relation to the whole grieving process and coming to terms with the loss of a spouse, a child, a sibling, parents, family member, close friend, a mentor, or someone who has been extremely significant in our life. She never intended the stages she identified by talking to her dying patients to be a regimented process, but saw it as being more fluid and flowing back and forth among the different stages. Many people do not experience the stages in the order listed below, which is okay. The key to understanding the stages is not to feel like you must go through every one of them in precise order. Instead, it's more helpful to look at them as guides in the grieving process. It helps you understand and put into context where you are. We do not follow the stages. They are not lockstep, like ascending and descending steps in order. For example, not everyone will go through anger. Not all will go through denial. Each person's experience will be as unique as each person is. Some of the stages will occur simultaneously. Others will be revisited many times until the emotional issues are resolved. Remember, there is no right way to die and or grieve. It is a deeply personal and individual process. Stage 1. Initial shock, denial. In this stage, dying and or grieving people are unable or unwilling to accept the loss that will shortly take place or has taken place. It can feel as though one is experiencing a bad dream, that the loss is unreal, and they are waiting to wake up as though from a dream, expecting that things will be normal. Often people feel numb, disoriented, confused, at a loss of what to do, think, or say, and isolated. People say, "It can't be happening. I don't believe it is happening to me." Stage 2, anger. As the initial shock and numbness decreases, people begin to experience the onset of the initial pain and reality of the situation in which they find themselves. Anger is the most immediate emotion, But as it is dealt with, one will discover other hidden feelings, mostly of pain and loss. Anger helps us deflect the pain from our vulnerable core and redirect and express it towards others. The anger may be aimed at God, the medical team, complete strangers, friends, family members, and oneself. Sometimes anger may be directed at our dying or deceased loved one. Rationally, we know the person is not to be blamed, but emotionally, we may resent the person for causing us pain or for leaving us. We feel guilty for being angry, and this makes us more angry. Anger is a valid reaction to your experience of death, so do not criticize it. You must be willing to feel the anger. The more you feel, the more it dissipates, and the quicker you can heal and get beyond this phase of dying and or grieving process. People say, "How can this be? This is so unfair." Stage 3, bargaining. Bargaining is a normal reaction to feelings of helplessness and vulnerability. To overcome our sense of guilt about the situation, we may be inclined to bargain. If only we had sought medical attention sooner. If only we sought a second opinion from another doctor. If only we tried to be better people toward the dying person. If you will make the pain go away, I will be a better person. Secretly, we may make a deal with God or our higher power in an attempt to postpone the inevitable. Our bargaining is another defense mechanism to protect us from the painful reality. And people say, "What if?" and "if only." Stage 4, depression. It is important to accept depression as a natural and appropriate part of the dying and or grieving process. It is not a form of mental illness, but a part of your journey to wellness. To not experience a form of depression while confronting your end of life or after loss of a loved one is highly unusual. Depression is the first realization that the person will not and or is not coming back. We believe that there are 3 types of depression that can be identified as part of the dying and or grieving process. The first one are the practical reactions relating to the loss, such as sadness and regret. The second type of depression is more personal and private. It is our quiet preparation to separate and to bid our loved one farewell. Sometimes all we really need is a hug. The third type of depression is related to a sense of loss of future participation in activities involving dining out, special dates, trips, holidays, birthdays, and experiences with other couples. Now you are the odd person out in a couple's world. Stage 5 is acceptance. Acceptance does not mean I like the inevitable outcome. It simply means that I acknowledge the reality of the loss or impending loss. Acceptance is the first step in the process of healing. Acceptance is not being all right, that is, 100% okay. Acceptance is more about having more good days than bad days. It is accepting the reality that your loved one is physically gone and not coming back in physical form, and that your life will never be the same. The big challenge for you is to learn to live in this new reality. We can never replace what has been lost, but we can make new connections and new meaningful relationships. This phase may be marked by a deep sense of calm and peacefulness, a quiet resignation to the inevitable that we must all face. To review, the stages are: number 1, initial shock, denial. Number 2, anger. Number 3, bargaining. Number 4, depression. And number 5, acceptance. This is just a friendly reminder that this presentation is created to support you and members of your support team. If you are experiencing any ongoing physical, medical, psychological, and/or spiritual difficulties, we encourage you to seek out professional help to assist you in better coping and managing these challenges.